This video is going to be a follow-up to the video that I did yesterday on winding down Repair Preservation Group Action Fund. This is a nonprofit that was started 5 years ago by myself to try and push forward right to repair legislatively. And also I was showing you all the finances. So I went through how we spent money, and I also released not just the QuickBooks files that had every single transaction and the reason for every single transaction, but also the actual bank statements from 2021 when I started it all the way up to the end of 2025, so that you could see for yourself exactly how money was spent in the most transparent way possible. And the way that I see it, when over 90% of your donations are people just giving you $1, in my opinion, that's your money. And you should be able to see exactly how it was spent down to the fucking bank statement, transaction by transaction, with a little explanation for each one. I wanted to follow up in the video I did yesterday because I'm really good at doing a 35-minute video while not actually answering the questions that the audience have. Welcome to Rossman Repair Group. That's how this channel's worked now for about 13, 14 years. The first question that a lot of you had is, well, let's say I do have a lot of money, Lewis, and let's say I do want to donate to Right to Repair lobbying. If Repair Preservation Group Action Fund is no longer going to be accepting money and going to be closing down, what do I do? I would suggest reaching out to Nathan Proctor at US PIRG. He is the senior director of the Right to Repair campaign. Public Interest Research Group was a group started by Ralph Nader a long time ago, and it still lives on today. They go over shit like, they're the type of org you go to if an area has like lead in the water or some shit, or like Exxon is pouring oil into your drinking supply, that kind of thing. And they do a really good job of it. And Nathan Proctor is the head of Right to Repair. His sole focus is Right to Repair at that organization. And as I said in my last video, he is the one that always actually shows up to these hearings. If he's not there, somebody that he is organizing is showing up to those hearings. So if you want your money going to that type of lobbying and you don't want it to stop into the future, reach out to Nathan Proctor. I hear that he really loves unsolicited emails from random people in my YouTube comment section. In all seriousness, they do have a donate button on their website if you want to donate, and they also have a take action button. So, well, I'm going to be focusing with my new nonprofit on a lot of the stuff that's getting eroded with ownership in general. If you're sad that Right to Repair lobbying is not something I'm going to be involved with spending money on anymore, please do reach out to him, because he's still going to be organizing that shit. I can't think of somebody who has better strategic vision when it comes to this type of stuff, and just being able to continue finding new strategies to figure out how to get things done in spite of getting kicked in the dick over and over again than Nathan Proctor. He is an honorable man, and he's really good at his craft. So please do check out this page. I will leave it down below. Admittedly, I thought this was implied in yesterday's video, but just in case it wasn't, and I want it to be a strong shout out rather than a strong implication, if you want the Right to Repair lobbying to continue and you want to spend money on it, and you're somebody who has lots of money from your GameStop stock or some shit burning a hole in your pocket, reach out to Nathan Proctor, and they got a donate button here, and they got many ways to make it happen. And if you're broke but you want to do something, reach out to him anyway, and he'll tell you what you can do to get organized in your particular state. Again, as I said, there's nothing that he loves more than getting unsolicited emails from people from my YouTube comment section. I hear that it actually brightens up his day. So I started this channel in 2012, and in 2013 I started talking about Right to Repair, and I started to get involved with it from a more professional standpoint in 2021 when I started Repair Preservation Group Action Fund. I started that right after there was a ballot initiative in Massachusetts for automotive right to repair, where instead of going up to the politician and go, "Please, sir, can we have some right to repair?" what happened was they just put it on the ballot, meaning that people in Massachusetts could vote yes or no. Do you want right to repair or do you not? I don't have to deal with politicians that have their this guy doesn't like that guy, or this person's from the wrong party, so if this person introduces the bill, I won't sign. Fuck all that shit altogether. Put it to the people. And that passed 74%. Even though the automotive manufacturer spent $25 million trying to convince ordinary people that if you were able to fix your car, that people would rape you in a parking lot. I'm not kidding. They made those fucking arguments. They tried to delete all the fucking commercials, but I logged them all here. I saw what they did with that ballot initiative, and then I thought to myself, why don't we try to do the same thing? We've been trying to do this the normal way, going to the legislature and getting laughed at for 7 years. So I ran that fundraiser. I said, if I am able to get enough money to do a ballot initiative, which is $6 million plus, I'll do that. And if I can't do that, then I will go back and just try to do standard lobbying. And I did. After getting that $900,000, I tried doing lobbying in a bunch of different states, and I saw what happened over a period of 5 years. So what I was doing with that nonprofit was answering the question, if I have money for real lobbying, real grassroots organizing, if I could go over to the people who are doing damn good work right now and say, what would you guys do with an extra $300,000, and actually see what happens? And I did see what happens. We got a bunch of laws passed in a bunch of different states that, for the most part, have not led to us getting access to schematics, chips, parts, diagrams for a lot of stuff. There's a lot of very, very well-polished repair programs out there that don't give you access to anything, and there's a bunch of companies that are able to use the excuses. The law says that we have to give you access to the same parts and stuff that we give our service centers, but our service centers don't get schematics anyway. And the problem is, I don't have a way around that. That's what the law has been asking for since 2015, and I don't think I ever anticipated what would happen if the company was such an actual dickhead that they clarified, we don't actually give our own repair centers access to shit. The law says we have to give you access to what we give our repair centers, and our repair centers don't even have shit, so why should you? Fuck. And so here's the thing. There's two things going on here. Behind door number one, I have fulfilled my question, which is what will we be able to do? And I saw what we were able to do. I have no idea what to do from there. I don't have an answer. So even if I had 10 or 20 or $100 million to bribe a bunch of different politicians, even if you gave me $100 million right now, I would not know how to actually put that to work towards an actionable goal. And if I don't have that, then I cannot do a second round of fundraising. That's not the way my brain works. If I were to close Repair Preservation Group with that action fund, what that means is I would go back to what I was doing before. I would encourage people to go to their legislatures. I would go to the legislature myself. I will continue covering these issues on a regular basis. I'll continue trying to push for the cultural change that hopefully leads to the change I actually want to see in the world. And I'll try to be a part of that change I want to see in the world the way that we do at our business every day. The second thing that I think is important to go over here is what this channel's direction has been from 2021 when I started it to now. I look back at the videos that I did, and I look back at the videos I've been doing over the past several years, and I've been increasingly covering the concept that you just fundamentally don't own what you bought and paid for. Right to repair is this speck under the umbrella of ownership, and ownership is something that is just fucking going away. Whether you are talking about privacy, meaning my car is not selling my data to LexisNexis and selling it to insurance companies so they can raise my rates without my consent, or we're talking about a baby monitor that just becomes a subscription, a thermostat that becomes a fucking subscription. We're talking about products that just kill themselves on a regular basis. We're talking about products where the manufacturer sends out a firmware update that stops it from working with third-party software. And if somebody comes out with a solution to make it work with third-party software, they're considered a fucking criminal. There are so many areas right now where ownership is under assault. Just even the idea that I can leave my house and drive from here 5 miles down the road and not get stopped 5 times by the police because they think that a warrant on somebody else is on me because some fucking ChatGPT and a telephone pole made a mistake. There are so many areas where you don't own your right to privacy, your right to anything, that when I look at the landscape, I don't want to be the person that spends my entire life going over this one small thing under it at the expense of everything else. I want to work on these issues, but I also don't want to hyper-focus on this one after putting in what I believe is, at this point in time, my best effort. Now, if I come up with something, if I think of something, if there's some idea that comes to me on how this can be different, then I would feel good doing a second fundraiser, saying, hey, I went through the $900,000 that I raised 5 years ago. Here's what we did. Here's what we got. Here's what I think could be done if we had another 900,000 pony up. But I don't see that. And if I don't see that, I'm not going to come here and say, yeah, let me get some more money. I'll ask for the money when I believe that I have a pathway. If I believe I have a pathway, sure. If I don't, coming out here and saying, here, give me a bunch of money for this issue that I don't even have a vision for how to win right now, it feels like grifting. I don't want to fucking do that. Like, I haven't had a sponsor on this channel for 14 years, and I'm not going to let myself become the sponsor that I never wanted to have. When I'm looking at the landscape of consumer protection, or the lack of consumer protection in the United States and around the world when it comes to ownership, I want to focus on all of it. I want to work on the Consumer Rights Wiki. I want to work on a bunch of different items. There was this one story that Roy Hendrickson told me. He was a chief engineer at Avatar Studios, a fucking awesome guy. And he was one of those very rare people who was equally good at dealing with a session where you have 20 different musicians that are all showing up at different times, that all have different setups and all the different personalities and managing them, as he was at fixing a console where the bus switches have crosstalk between them on something that's 50 years old. He was one of those rare people that was that good at everything, and I have the most respect for him. He was a really cool guy, and he taught me a lot when I worked there. And one of the things he was telling me once was this story about somebody who was working on a compressor. For those of you who don't understand how audio compression works, I'm not talking about wave to MP3 or something. I'm talking about the loudness and dynamics. There's something called an attack and a release in a compressor. So the whole point of a compressor, and I'll show you here, is if I'm talking at a low volume or I'm talking at a loud volume, if you have the compressor, it's going to bring the volumes closer together so that if anything goes above this threshold, instead of the waveform doing this, the waveform is going to kind of get like that. It's going to be compressed. So the idea is you have an attack and a release. The attack is how long do you wait until the audio waveform starts getting compressed after it's gone over the threshold. And the release is how long does it stay compressed or stay brought down after it has stopped being over the threshold. And now if you set these wrong, it's going to sound pumping or weird. Like if you're doing a bass drum, because a bass drum is much lower in frequency, you may have a longer release time than you have for something like a snare drum, versus if you're doing like a loudness maximizer on the master bus. At some point, somebody came out with something called auto. There was just an auto setting, and this is before digital. You just had these settings where it would figure out what the frequency was, and then set the release or the attack time based on what it thought the incoming frequency was of the audio. It's fucking crazy shit, but it actually, and sometimes it would sound pretty good. And he was telling me how the person who came up with a good version of that had spent something like 10 or 15 years of his life on it and was just sitting there in his garage fucking with shit in his lab for 15 years to make the attack of the release knob on the compressor not suck. And he was saying, I mean, now that one of them did it, but imagine the people that spent 15 to 20 years trying to figure that out that never figured it out. Like they spend 15 to 20 years of their life hyper-focused on this one fucking thing, while other people were out there like making the entire console and just doing all these other things with their life in audio, in the audio world, and what it must be like to do that. And he was talking about this because he was making something called there was this queue system they had that was absolute fucking shit. It always broke. It was Nemesis. It sounded like garbage. It worked like garbage. I forget if it was Nemesis. If anybody worked at Avatar between 2003 and 2009 and can tell me what the name of that is. Anyway, Roy Hendrickson reminded replacing the queue system there with something better. And he was staying at work until like 3 a.m. every day for like months on end trying to figure this out. And he was telling the story because he kind of felt like that guy for a short period. And when it comes to right to repair, if I don't even know what it is I would need to do to make the legislative route make more sense, and I don't even know what it is I would do after taking your money, I don't feel like I can just take that nonprofit, do a fundraiser for something where it would be easy for me to just come out here and say, yo, we took this money. I have almost double the subscribers now I did there. If I got 900,000 last time, maybe I get 1.8 million this time. Start paying myself a better salary from it and just start doing shit. It's because I didn't pay myself a salary for the last 5 years that I worked at that nonprofit. But that doesn't feel right. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it when I actually know what the thing is that I am even going to be telling you I'm going to be doing. And just saying, yeah, I'm just going to spend money on lobbyists. That doesn't feel good if I don't have a path, if there's not something on the other side of it. At least with some of the Section 1201 stuff, you could say on the other side of it, what that means is that when that person releases that tool that allows you to break this digital lock to be able to do this repair, they are not going to get in trouble for it. I don't have okay, once I get this law passed, well, now the company's going to have another loophole and another loophole and another loophole. And because this particular approach is an approach that is trying to remove an existing impediment rather than try and constrain a company's bad behavior, I see that as something that is actually achievable, which is why I'm putting my effort into it. And it's also why I'm putting my effort into the overall concept of ownership and why I'm putting effort into going over and covering those issues rather than solely banging my head against the wall on right to repair. I am going to keep banging my head against the wall with it culturally. Every time a company does some anti-repair bullshit, anytime a fucking Cami Research comes out and says we don't want our customers fixing shit because if they are, maybe they're going to resell it. Every time one of those fuck faces says they're going to sue me for $10,000 a day, I'm going to take their legal threat and fucking tear it to shreds on stream to the point where their own law firm is firing the client over the bullshit that they said. I'm going to cover those issues in this channel the same way that I have for 14 years. And I'm going to continue pushing forward the same way I have for 14 years. But I'm not going to ask for a re-up in funding to a nonprofit that has a very specific goal when I don't know how to achieve that goal right now. And I don't know how to continue moving it forward. Will I shred everybody in the Colorado State Senate that allowed Cisco to buy a law? Yeah, of course. I'm still going to do all of that shit regardless of whether Repair Preservation Group Action Fund exists. I'm still going to suggest people show up to the state legislature to push in favor of these things. But I'm not going to raise money to try and hire more people to do more of the same thing that I was doing when what I was doing was not working. That's crazy. And again, yeah, like I'm not. It's not grifting to raise money for a cause you believe in. If somebody has an idea, if somebody has a vision, if somebody believes in it, yes, I do think it is grifting. If in my own heart and mind, I have no fucking idea what the actual thing is that I should even be doing, and I don't even think that it's going to win, to do it anyway. I can't do that. I don't want to become the thing that I've always hated on this channel. Just because I don't have that vision or know what that path forward is does not mean that other people don't. And it doesn't mean that the cause itself is useless. My goal at that nonprofit was to figure out what we'd be able to do if I was able to hire lobbyists that were actually good at their craft in all these different states and see what happened. And I was able to answer that. I got a good answer to that question. I saw what was possible. I do not believe at this time that getting another $900,000 would allow me to get it over the finish line. If somebody else can, I support them. If anybody else tries, I will support them. I stand with the Stephen Ryans of the world. I stand with the Nathan Proctors. I stand with the Kevin O'Reillys. I stand with the people that are trying to push progress each step of the way. And I am going to go over every single fucking company that tries to screw people over when it comes to right to repair whenever possible. But I want to focus on the broader thing. I want to focus on the revocation of ownership in modern society. And I want to try and push back against that where I believe I do have the ability to win as much as I can until we make a dent in it. And even then, keep moving forward with it. Hopefully this makes some sense. I'll probably do this as a live stream. I said that yesterday. I said I was going to do a live stream to go over this if anybody had questions on it, but there's never time. That's the other thing. There's never time. Anyway, and last thing I forgot to include in that video is the most important thing, and the thing that I really owe people an apology over was a thank you to the audience. That nonprofit was not possible without all of you. Repair Preservation Group Action Fund was not funded by rich people. It was funded mostly by people who donated $1, $3, $4, $5 a piece. And that's why it hit me so hard that 5 years in, that all I have to present to all of you was that we have a couple of laws passed that are not necessarily doing what it is we need to do to show for it. There are people that, some of them like me, some of them don't, but there are people that have donated to that nonprofit that actually had their own repair shops that don't have those repair shops anymore because they've closed because they are no longer viable. They're not no longer viable because customers don't want to pay for those repairs because those things are not doable. They close because they can't get access to the shit that they need to do their job. That makes me feel really bad. I took those people's $1, $3, and $5, and just because I didn't pay myself a salary does not mean that I'm not accountable and responsible for the fact that I said, here's what I want to do, and I wasn't able to do it. To those people, I'm truly sorry. Thank you very much for allowing me to even be able to take that shot, and thank you for being here for the entire journey over the past 5.5 years. I really appreciate it, and I hope that during my lifetime, I get to see that thing change. I'll take as a close second breeding shade as a tree that I'm never going to sit under. Anyway, that's it for today. And as always, hope you learned something. Hope this video is less of a mess than the first one, but probably as much of a mess as the first one, especially since I don't have the time to edit it. See you in the next one. Bye now. When I saw that, I thought to myself, what could we do if we could do a ballot initiative instead? What would we be able to do if we had that money? Maybe we could do that. Bee-boop! Clanker!
Sorry!
Clanker!
Clanker!
Stop playing the xylophone. I'm trying to make a video.
Okay.
Why are you playing the xylophone? Why my washing machine playing Bach and Mozart and shit? Why my washing machine trying to fucking sing to me, huh? Why are you making my washing machine try to make music?
I'm setting it up!
Why'd you buy a washing machine that plays fucking music, huh? That thing has never made that noise in my life. This woman shows it to my house, and now my fucking washing machine has Wi-Fi on it.
It's for the special delegates!
I'm kidding. I never replaced the washing machine when I got this house. I need to fucking toss that thing out a window.